of shadows fall, pumpkins laugh down every hall. Friendship train is rolling near, spooky steam and witchy cheer.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Georgie's Gorgeous Gifts. Today we're diving into a spooky resin project. So I'll be showing you how to make these Halloween themed coasters and this really cool vampire teeth coaster holder. So let's get pouring. Now this particular set sold really well last Halloween. So to start off with, I've got some red Let's Resin chrome powder, and we're just going to go in just these bits here and avoid the teeth with the chrome powder. I need to be really careful because I don't want to go into any of the grooves where the teeth are, because it's really difficult to get any powder out of there. I'm just going to really burnish this in so there's complete coverage, and I just want where the roof of the mouth is here rather than where the teeth are. And you really don't need a lot of this stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. And for years I've been saying, even when I used to do my lives on TikTok, I used to say, why doesn't somebody come up with a decent red? And even if you pop this into the resin itself rather than use it as a burnishing powder, it gives that really, really bright red shine. So I have got to give it to Let's Resin. I haven't found a red like it, not even the Teamy ones. The rest of the Teamy colours, they're alright, they compare. I did actually do a comparison video, which I will link above, of the chrome and the chameleon powders, so the Let's Resin versus Teamy, and you'll be surprised at the results. Now, I'm taking all this time to completely cover the top, when, as you'll find out later, it's not necessary at all. And like I say, I poured enough of them last year to know this. But we're going to go even up on top of here. See, just can't help myself. I'm so messy, even when I try not to be messy. So after being careful not to get into the teeth, I completely changed my mind about that as well. Right, so I'm just going to take that off, give that a bit of a blow, grab cotton wool bud and try and give that a clean up. And you can see it's gone right down in the teeth. So we're going to start off with baby wipe. The slightest bit of red on these teeth and you'll be able to spot it a mile off, especially with the white pigment paste that I'm using. So I grabbed a baby wipe and went round the edges. I then got a cotton wool bud just to get into all the teeth. At this point I thought, do you know what I think will look good? A little bit of this red in his teeth. So I got a little micro brush, put some powder on the end and dipped it into the front corners of these 4 teeth, just so that it looked like this vampire had sunk his teeth into somebody and there was blood. Now it's time for this one. So for this one we're going to be using the Let's Resin chrome powders, but in silver. Now this silver is holographic and it's absolutely stunning. I don't particularly like this mould. It's not a very nice pattern, but I'm hoping with holographic chrome powders, hoping it's just going to give it that little bit more detail. And you can see the holographic shift on this is stunning. And it doesn't matter what colour now you would put on top of that. The only thing you would see on the bottom would be the silver. So if you're using chrome powders, chameleon powders, whatever you put on the base is the colour that's going to shine through, even if you pop it on top. So we're going to be filling this with some black polyurethane. And then these two, I'm going to be filling a little layer with some black holographic spiders from Resin Supplies. And I've got some happy mail from Karen at the Dragon's Cave and their little Halloween inlays. So we're going to be using some of these in this clear coaster. So Karen, thank you so much, my lovely. I hope you like what I make with them. So I've mixed my resin up. So we're going to pour a clear layer into this one. Now this has been through my debubbling machine. I do actually reuse my cups. There were a lot of bubbles in this because I did mix like an idiot. So you might have to get the long nose lighter on it. And I just want a thin layer. So we're going to be popping the inlays on this, and then we're going to be backing them with a chrome powder or a colour shifting powder, and then putting some black over the back. So I'm just going to mix up some of these holographic spiders from Resin Supplies into some clear resin. Now when I do this and pour it into the mould, I do actually separate the spiders because they've got a terrible habit of clumping together. That's the only problem with really chunky glitter like this. So while I'm giving this a good stir and pouring it into the mould, just a quick reminder that there are loads of links down below in the description. I know nobody ever reads the actual description, but honestly it is worth a peek. There's also my Amazon wishlist, buy me a coffee link, loads of discount codes, and a link to my Amazon storefront, which is full of products I've used and loved over the years. So if you fancy supporting the channel or finding some great craft supplies, everything is in that description. There are also links to both playlists that this video is part of today. So the first one, the Friendship Express, it's theme week, and it just so happens to be that the theme is spooky Halloween. This is a collaboration run by Tina at Pour Resin with Love, Amy at Resonating Art with Amy, Tim the Base Resonator, Sally at All Aboard Resin Creations, and Susie at Serendipity Resin Creations. As well as being day 10 of 13 days of Halloween collaboration run by Lula from Nerd Goblin Art. Honestly, 13 days straight has been tough. I have got so much respect for small channels that do daily uploads. But on the flip side of that, it's been so much fun. Stressful, but fun. So for those of you that have been following me through these last 13 days, then I'd love it if you could drop me a comment and just let me know which make you preferred. So I did try to do this live, but as you can see, most of it's been voice-overed anyway. So now it's time to pour the white into this mould. So the white I'm using is the Supreme White from Just For You online. Unfortunately, they are now, well, not unfortunately, they're Apex Resin, but unfortunately Just For You online is no longer a company, and it's now Apex Resin. But the white pigment paste was superb. So I did grab myself a fair bit before it closed, and it is a pure white as well. Right, so whenever I'm mixing up pastes, I like to give it a good mix and then clean off my stick with a wipe, because you can see how much paste is still left on that stick. And then continue to mix. That way you don't get any unmixed paste in your resin. Now that's fully mixed, and we're just going to pour into the teeth. So, like I said earlier, the editing for this 13 days has been real. So part of this video has been voice-overed and part of it has been done live. So I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know in the comments below which way you prefer it. Whether you prefer it highly edited and all the boring bits cut out, or do you prefer the let's wing it and let's see how it sounds. Mind you, yesterday's video, the 3 clocks, was over 2 hours worth of footage, cut down to 21 minutes. And that's no easy task, let me tell you. It's a good job I didn't have to voice over the whole 2 hours, because I'd still be here next Thursday. So I have now finished pouring my teeth up to where the red ends. And I'm going to stick this in my curing machine for a couple of hours and then pour the next layer. But just as I go to move it, I notice that there's just a slight bit that's showing at the one end. So there was enough paste in the bottom of the small cup for me to just mix in some more clear resin and then just topped it up to the right level. I'd completely forgotten about adding the glow in the dark to this white. So even though I know better, I still, off camera, got the glow-in-the-dark paste and just dropped a couple of drops onto the top. Now, I should have known that it wasn't going to cure properly. I did try to mix it in, but clearly not that well, as you'll see in a bit. So I have some inlays that the lovely Karen from the Dragon's Cave kindly sent to me. So if you're watching, Karen, I hope I do them justice and you like what I make with them. But I really, really appreciate it. I absolutely love them. Now I have had a little play and tried a couple out on some jewellery. But Karen actually made these herself. They are so, so cute. The camera really doesn't do them justice. So after spending an age trying to figure out which ones I wanted to use, turns out I ended up using practically all of them. So I am just going to pop these down on top of my layer of resin. They are really, really thin and really lightweight, but you'll be surprised. To be honest, you'll be surprised at how dense the top of the resin is. I mean, I've put some inlays in that have been good chunky ones on top and they still haven't sank. A little tip when you're popping inlays into resin is before you lay them down, wipe a layer of resin across the front of the inlay and then place it down on the resin on one side and then let it fall. That way you're doing everything you can to try and prevent any bubbles underneath. Because these are so small, the slightest bubble would proper ruin this piece. But come on, can we really get through an entire video without something going wrong? In all fairness, this is probably the first make in over a week that I've done where I feel like I'm at home and I know what I'm doing. I hope you've enjoyed the last 10 days because the aim was to try and push myself out of my comfort zone and to try and use products that I've never really used before, or at least been more adventurous with the products that I'm not quite used to. Because I've done so much with resin, it's my comfort zone. I at least needed to try and have one day where I didn't get the stress of having to change my mind about things 10 times. In all the little pictures, the various colours. So for the spider I'll go black, for the pumpkin I'll go orange. Some of them are glow in the dark, some of them are just stylised UV, which means that they are more raised. So I have sped this up for you, so I'll leave you with a little bit of music. So enjoy!
Georgie's gifts so ghoulish sweet. Tony's magic can't be beat. It's a duel, it's a dance. Halloween gives us a chance. Color videos in the night. Tricks and treats in eerie light. Georgie's gorgeous gifts.
So this piece is now fully cured. The only problem is where I dropped the pigment paste into it, it's a bit tacky on the top. So I tried to wipe it off with a baby wipe as much as I could, and then it was time to fill the other coasters and pop the top coat onto this. Now first of all, we're going to be using some red pigment paste for the back of this coaster, and we're going to be using some red pigment dye to top the rest of this coaster holder up. So first of all, we're going to be popping some lights into it. Now these are just a pack of 10 coloured lights flashing, where you can have them different settings, that I bought from Temu. Now whenever I'm popping lights into something, I like to make sure that they don't float. So to do that, I try to bend them round the piece that I'm doing, and then I drop little dobs of UV resin onto the wire and onto the piece and cure that so that it sticks down, and I do that in a few places. Now this was a lot harder to do on this piece purely because it still had that tackiness from where I dropped the glow in the dark ink into it. So again, I've sped this bit up for you because this did take a while, so I'm just dropping 5 or 6 drops of UV onto the lights just to tack them in. So now it's time for the top coat. Now you can see where the red powder has gone onto the white teeth here, and it does actually show when I demould it, which was a bit annoying. So I've gone in with these inlays with some silver pen, and this coaster is now fully cured and finished with different colours. So we're going to be backing these with some black polyurethane. purely for speed, ease, because as you all know by now, I'm last minute Lil. So I'm just pouring some clear resin that's been through my debubbler into a little cup, and I'm mixing some red pigment paste into it, and we're going to top coat the holographic spider coaster with this one. So after giving the pot of pigment paste a good mix, because it tends to sink to the bottom if it hasn't been used for a while, I then pop a little bit on my stick and then mix it into this little bit of resin. Now, whenever I'm working with pigment paste, as you've seen if you've seen my videos before, I give it a good mix and then I like to wipe my stick with a baby wipe, purely because there's so much excess paste left on the stick that you always end up with streaks in the resin. And then I go back in and give it a good mix again. And then pouring it onto the back of this coaster just to cover it all. I think the contrast of the red and the black holographic is going to be gorgeous. So I'm just helping it out to the edges and making sure there's no bubbles around the outside. So after mixing some red pigment dye into some more resin, this is transparent pigment dye, I then pour that on the top of the coaster holder. Now the reason I've used transparent resin dye is so that you'd be able to see the coloured lights inside. So I poured what was left of the resin to try and fill this mould. Now again, like I said earlier, this piece in the middle is a hole, so why I took the time to try and burnish all that powder in, I do not know. I only needed it round the outside of it. Once this was poured, I popped it into my curing machine. It's now time to mix up the polyurethane. So I am reusing my cup here. So I've zeroed my scales. I am using black fast cast polyurethane. I will pop a link in the description with other bits that I'm using. So this is real time. I literally pour 50 grams of part A, 50 grams of part B, and then give it a stir. Now you really do need to be quick with polyurethane. So for those who haven't used polyurethane before, this is a fast cast type of resin that literally cures in between 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the depth of the piece. But the measuring does have to be accurate with this one, and it is by grams. I've had this bottle probably about 3 months, and I've noticed today that it's starting to leak on the bottom, so I do need to use the rest of it up. So like I say, this is no editing, real-time mixing. And it literally takes about 30 seconds to mix before it starts going warm in your hand and starting to cure. So after giving this a good stir, scraping the edges, scraping the bottom, and then pouring it into all 3 of the coasters. So as I've said before, the thing with polyurethane is being absolutely prepared. So having a spare mould handy just in case you've poured too much, because it's really no good running around trying to find a mould. Ask me how I know that one. Because I've done it on many occasions. Now the consistency and the viscosity of polyurethane is that thin that it gets into all the little grooves really, really easily. So after pouring these 3 coasters, I then left it to cure. And hopefully we've got enough to fill them all up. Look at that. After all these years, I'm finally getting half decent at measuring and gauging stuff. So this is about 20 minutes later, and they are now all fully cured. Now for the first one, although I really dislike the pattern, I really dislike the shape of the skull, I absolutely love the holographic shift on the Let's Resin powders. This is the one with the inlays from Karen, Dragon's Cave. And look at these. These are so, so cute. I'm trying not to touch them because I've got all sorts on my hands. I absolutely love that red sort of shift that I put through it. So thank you very much, Karen. I absolutely adore them. This is the one with the glow in the dark UV, but I am going to change the spiders to silver, I think, just to make them stand out a little bit more. And now it's time to demould the coaster holder. Now this was still a little bit soft on the top, but the teeth were fully cured because that had been done previous. So it was a little bit difficult to demould. And I did end up putting it in my curing machine again for another half an hour after this. But how cool is this coaster holder? I absolutely love it. Do you see what I mean by the hole in the middle? So there was actually no need to spend all that time burnishing the powders into the top. How I forgot about that, I do not know. So I'm just pushing from the bottom to get the teeth out. And you can see here that there are flecks of the red powder on the teeth. Not just where I wanted it, but pretty much throughout the piece. So that would be the one thing that I'm not quite happy about. But other than that, I think this set is really cool. Let me know in the comments what you think. And that Let's Resin chrome powder is absolutely stunning. I love it. So let's see it with the lights on. How cool is that? So we have one final coaster to demold, and then I'll be leaving you with some glamour pictures. So thanks so much for watching. I've hoped you've loved this Halloween resin project as much as I did, because I really did enjoy this one. Back to my resin. So if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell and all that nonsense so that you don't miss any more of my resin creations. I am actually wondering whether to go in with a silver chrome marker like I have done with this one. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. So once again, I've been Tony from Georgie's Gorgeous Gifts. So stay safe, happy crafting, and bye for now. Catch you on the next one.
Creeping bats and candy flows, every ghost in glitter glows. Skeletons are keeping time, laughing at our spooky rhyme. 13 days of frightful scream, friendship train rolls endlessly. It's a duel, it's a